All right, so we just got back from Sand Mountain, and while our new 2022 Can-Am Max is still on the trailer, I wanted to go over how actually we tie this thing down. Our favorite straps are from SpeedStrap. This is a ratcheting strap, and on one end, a really cool setup is you've got a soft tie on it, so you can attach this to suspension components where you don't have something to clip the normal ends onto. And these are super flexible, good size for UTVs. And let me just show you a few different ways you can tie them down. Now, if you've noticed, there is these little posts that come on the vehicle, and Can-Am actually uses those to cinch the suspension down tight when they're shipped to dealers. And you could use those with these. These are an aftermarket clip you can get that slide over that, and they're trapped on there. And we can connect up to that point. So from here back to the corner of the trailer is a direct straight line, which is good, but this is pretty far up on the vehicle. And what ends up happening is when I ratchet this down, if you watch that shock there, I'm compressing the suspension quite a bit, and that might seem like it really snugs it up good, but you're compressing the suspension, and as the vehicle rides down the road, it will bounce up and down, and this strap is going to loosen and tighten. Not a very good setup. You really want your vehicle to be able to float up and down with the suspension, and you tie down as far out on the wheel as possible and in a straight line if you can. Let me show you a couple other options. Next option on the radius plate from the factory, you've got this bar coming across. These can hook to that pretty easily, and this is lower than the first solution, but again, you're still tightening down the suspension. And again, as you're going down the road, it's going to move, and this is, even though it feels really tight, it's going to loosen and tighten, and that's not an ideal solution. So up here, right in front of the clutch, there's an angled bar that you can loop around with your SpeedStrap, and then I'm coming straight back to here, and then we can tighten it down from there. So that's pulling at a pretty good straight line. But again, you are tightening down the suspension to some amount. So let's check out another option. So the best solution is to mount your straps as far out to the wheel as possible, so you're not going to have any suspension flex at that point, and in a straight line if you can. So this appears to be pretty good. I'm wrapping it around the trailing arm there, but I don't really like this because it's interfering with the tire a little bit, and I'm not a big fan of how that's coming through there. So it looks okay, but I've got another solution. So again, if I loop around the trailing arm here with the soft shackle on these SpeedStraps, and if I come across, so it's doing a crisscross type setup, this is all the way out to the suspension, so you're not gonna have any flex. The car can move up and down without affecting the strap at all, which is great. But crisscrossing is fine as long as both sides stay tight. If one side loosens or comes loose for some reason, that's going to affect things, because this side, if the other side falls off or comes off, loose, this side's going to be pulling the car to one side instead of straight back, and that's not good. So this isn't the ideal solution to crisscross, but if you are comfortable with your straps not coming loose, it works pretty well. And on a Can-Am, this is kind of my ideal setup, because it's low and outside, no suspension movement for the strap. There's nothing sharp in here to cut the straps, and you're not on a component that can get bent. Like you wouldn't really want to put it on a radius link. These aren't meant to have a lot of pressure pulling on them if it gets in the middle, maybe out on the end, but I still don't like that as much. I like it a little more substantial. So up front here, my favorite way to do it is just off the lower arm with the loops on the SpeedStrap. You want to make sure this is all the way to the outside. You don't want to pull in the middle of this, and then a straight line if you can. You can see on the other side, I've got it just temporarily put on the upper arm, and you can see between the two the difference in how high they are. You really don't want to be pulling in a downward angle if at all possible. You want to pull straight forward and straight back if you can. And again, as far out on the outside of the suspension components as you can. So if you don't have speed straps, you can still get these to loop around suspension components. This is a soft tie from SpeedStrap, and you can put these around an arm and loop them back to themselves. This is actually another spot where people tie their vehicles down, and you really need a soft tie to do it. So you just pull these through, and then your hook can just be put through this loop, and you're all set. So this spot here can be used as a tie down location, but again, it's not on the outside edge where it's more ideal, and you're pulling down on the suspension, which is compressing in the suspension. So not quite as good, but it's still, I love these soft ties to be able to grab stuff if you don't have something on the trailer, an ideal spot, or around a suspension component. These soft ties from SpeedStrap are awesome. So that's kind of some different ways you can tie them down. And don't forget, you don't have to pull forward and backward off the ends of the vehicle. Because a vehicle like this is really long. You can also come backward off the front and forward off the back if the trailer isn't long enough. So that's another way to do things.